Hey guys, Mortgage Mark. Let's talk about mortgage forbearance. Get it? Forbearance. I know it's a bad joke. Serious topic though. Mortgage forbearance. Obviously, as you guys may have seen in the headlines, mortgage companies are supposedly going to be, well, not, they will be offering a mortgage forbearance. That does not mean a mortgage forgiveness. Two very different things. Mortgage forbearance means that if you are having troubles paying your mortgage, they're going to let you skip a mortgage payment or multiple mortgage payments. What I would tell you is I would really make sure that is it's an avenue of last resort, in my opinion. Reason being is we just don't know what that's going to do in the future. So in other words, right now the government has said, hey, you can do mortgage forbearance, we're going to allow it. Well, guess what? There's no real hard and fast guidelines about what that means and what it does. So if you skip a mortgage payment, where does that go? A mortgage company, they don't necessarily tack it to the end because again, you got this contract saying to start and finish, payments have to be made. So now we're suddenly going to tweak that and alter the contract. So my suspicions are a couple things could happen. One is let's just pretend they say, okay, I'm going to skip 3 months of mortgage payments. Well, they might say that's fine, but once you skip and start making payments again, we're going to take the total, spread it over, spread it out over a 12-month or maybe a 24-month period. And so now you owe us the normal mortgage payment plus that repayment piece. That's one option. Two, I've heard whispers of mortgage companies bringing back loan modifications that include 40-year mortgages. So those were deemed predatory. So instead of a 30-year fixed rate, you'd have now a 40-year, which means the amount of interest you pay is just even more ridiculous. So again, not sure how they're suddenly just pretending those are okay type loans because they were, again, outlawed for the longest time. Other options might be is, I think this is the least likely, but you may say, hey, we'll just tack it on to the end. So it becomes a balloon note. So if you got a 30-year note, you're 5 years in, 24 years later, when you're about done and you're about ready to pay off this mortgage, we're going to have a bigger balance on the end because of what's owed from the principal and the interest that piles up from not making these mortgage payments. So I don't know how it's going to work. If you have questions, you got to call your mortgage company, your mortgage servicer, who you make your mortgage payments to. Ask them for details. Certainly let me know if you guys have any questions. Just think about this moving forward, guys. If you, like back in the day during the mortgage meltdown, when loan modifications were going crazy and people would modify, people would call us up for a refinance or to buy a new home a couple of years later, and they found out they couldn't just because of what had happened to their credit. They said, well, it's okay. They told me to do it. Perhaps, but it doesn't mean the mortgage guidelines were compassionate for it, and they really didn't allow it. So a lot of short sales, for example, happened. Oh, well, they told me I could. Well, you can, but again, there may be consequences down the road. And that's the challenge now is if you do this mortgage forbearance, what's going to happen? Because right now, what about your credit? So if you don't make a mortgage payment for April and May and the government says it's okay, what I think is going to happen is they're going to allow it and not count it as a late payment, but they're not going to count it as an on-time payment. So there's going to be this gap. So for example, if somebody makes a, January, February, March payment, but all of a sudden in April and May, they skip that mortgage payment and then resume in June, July, and beyond, you may see that there's just a window missing on the credit report for what payments didn't occur. And what we're not sure of is, again, how the mortgage world is going to see that moving on in the future. So look, it's going to be needed. Times are certainly tough for a large number of folks. We got unemployment records that are just going off the charts and never before seen. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying explore your options and make sure it's the right decision for you, and just think that there may be unintended consequences down the road. If you guys have any questions, you're always welcome to call us. As always, thanks for watching, and let us know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.